Let's get to the other side of the matchup. Keep that vein going on Stephen A's face. Ben Roethlisberger did not mince words after the Steelers' fourth straight loss. Here he is.
I didn't think leadership was an issue. We just got to make plays and, and like I said, be accountable and be disciplined.
And you said accountable a couple of times. How do you get to that point?
I don't know. Is it players? Is it coaches? I don't know, but we need to get there quick.
Ooh, trouble in paradise. Ben calling out everyone, maybe even his own coach. But how responsible is Mike Tomlin for the Steelers' struggles this season? Mr. Smith.
He shares culpability. We all know that you can't find a bigger fan of Mike Tomlin than me because I think he's a leader of men. And that's incredibly important to me. Guys getting motivated, guys being focused, guys understanding what their responsibilities are, etc. You've got former coordinators that become head coaches, and they know football in and out in terms of X's and O's, but don't know how to lead men.
Right.
I believe that Mike Tomlin is a born leader. Having said all of that, you can't draft as many picks as they've drafted on the defensive side of the ball, whether it's Jarvis Jones and Shazier or, whomever else that you may have out there, the Artie Burns of the world and others, and have a defense that continuously and religiously have suffered to this point. So does he share culpability? Yes, but he shares it with the GM. And he shares it with the defensive coordinator because the combination of those three individuals are supposed to have this ship steered in the right direction, not just in terms of personnel, but in terms of production. Where Mike Tomlin is elevating him or is being, whether it's elevated or diminished to the hot seat, is when you've got a Le'Veon Bell weeks ago saying the same mistakes we make during the game are the same mistakes we making in practice. Where you've got Big Ben Roethlisberger, a future Hall of Famer and a two-time Super Bowl champion, who is saying similar things. That does not make things look good. And I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to go here. Even though the NFL, that is not the same problem that exists in college football. When you have African-American coaches that are put in those positions, and there are questions about what you're doing, as it pertains to discipline and it pertains to focus. As a reporter for 20-plus years covering sports, it is my history, in terms of what I know to be true, that when those kind of questions are presented about a black coach, that is never a good thing. I think that it's time to get a little bit concerned about Mike Tomlin because when words like that, it shouldn't be because he's a Super Bowl champion and went to 2 Super Bowls. But it shouldn't be. I want to be clear about that. It should not be. But when those quotes are being made by players, that is never a good thing.
Look. Mike Tomlin, in 6 of 9 seasons, has at least 10 wins. Now think about the NFL for a second. What's the top team been throughout the Tomlin era and even going back further? The Patriots. Yeah. The Patriots always have a winning record and almost always, whenever Brady's healthy, are in the playoffs, right? And usually, if Brady has anything on offense, they're making a Super Bowl run. That's the top team. No team's going to look good in comparison to that. You know what the Steelers are? They're right under that in the Mike Tomlin era. A bad season for most NFL teams, 5-11, right? 6-10, you like to do better. A bad season for Mike Tomlin is 8-8. When he goes 8-8, as he did in consecutive years, what happened to the Steelers? You know what he did last year? He started 5-4. He went 10-6. And by the way, right now they're 4-5 because they just barely lost, according to you, unluckily, to an 8-1 team. Go back in time and look at, so 10-6, 11-5 before that. Then he had those couple of 8-8 seasons, 12-4, 12-4. Do you know how many teams in the NFL are praying that they can get a coach like Mike Tomlin that when his team, and they're still in the thick of things in their division. This is panic time because, heaven forbid, the Steelers might have a 500 record one year. Tomlin is an absolute elite coach, and it is absurd to question him compared to his peers. You want to say Belichick, you maybe want to say Pete Carroll, a couple others. That's it. He's in that category.
Well, it's not just, African-American coaches, also quarterbacks and everybody in predominant positions. Yes. When things like that are leaked out, it's a bad thing. African-Americans.
That's right.
But as far as Mike Tomlin is concerned, let's take into account that your quarterback hasn't been healthy for a full season. Mm-hmm. And let's go back to 2009. Before 2009, the consistency of Ben Roethlisberger, they go as far as Ben takes them. So at this particular point, when I listen to the quotes from Ben Roethlisberger, it's not about Mike Tomlin. It's about individuals being accountable for their mistakes. Offensively, they know the mistakes that they've made. Le'Veon Bell talked about it in the beginning of the season. We are making the same mistakes that we make in practice. That's on the offensive end. But what Ben is talking about as a unit, as a team, being the leader of a team, you have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, did I do my job? Defensively, we just talked about it. No, they did not do their job. Defensive linemen are not in their gaps. Linebackers are not overflowing into the position to be able to make the tackles. You see them outrunning plays. That's why you're getting big plays. Defensive backs are not in the right position.
Let me get this straight. They're not doing their job, and as a result, you lose by the skin of your teeth, aided by a face mask when the play is dead,
yes,
to an 8-1 team that has the best point differential in the league.
Mike Tomlin's not the one out there grabbing face masks. Mike Tomlin is not the one missing tackles. They're in the right position to be successful.
That's what I'm saying.
These players are not making the plays they're made to be made.
That's what I'm saying. I guess everyone thinks they're pretty damn good if this is like disaster.
But this is the whole thing. If a coach has been there for as long as Mike Tomlin or in Green Bay, what we're seeing in Green Bay, it begins to get stale. It begins to get stale because defensively, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And offensively, yeah, you had a great game. But what happened last week in Baltimore? Offensively, they looked awful. They didn't run the ball.
I need to chime in here because here's my discomfort for especially what you said. Nobody's saying that Mike Tomlin should be gone.
Right.
What we're saying is that's what folks who may want to get at him might take from everything that's transpiring.
They'll use
it.
Because the undisciplined.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, let's also point this out, Max. From 1998, whether it was at Arkansas State or the University of Cincinnati where he was coaching defensive backs, to being in the NFL in 2006 as the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. What do we usually say? What do I religiously say? Whatever your signature is, whatever got you the job is what you have to make sure that you do. New Orleans, Sean Payton is relatively safe. You know why? He has an offensive background. Their offense is firepower. It's defense that's a problem, but that ain't his signature. Mike Tomlin was defense. But in 2014, 2 years ago, their defense against the pass ranked 27th. Last year, it ranked 30th. This year, it's ranking 27th. You can't ignore what's transpiring. To me, I love Mike T. He could be my head coach any day of the week.
Great guy.
He can't go, oh, he's a born leader, man. I mean, he's the real deal. But the flip side is that when you're perceived as having say, and you're picking this personnel, and this personnel, which you're loaded with because you got 6, 7 starters that are drafted.
I want to address that.
And they're not getting it done. Ultimately, somebody's going to come and look at you. Right now in Pittsburgh, I was just in Pittsburgh last week, remember? These guys are holding Mike Tomlin accountable.
I want to address that real quick. If someone has ulterior motives for going at a coach for race or any other reason, shame on them.
No, I'm not saying that.
Nor does that mean that race should be a shield and anyone's above criticism, even if they're a great coach. Just in my analysis, if you think Tomlin's not a great coach, you're not thinking about things very clearly. That's one. Two, to your point about you better be strong where you're calling on your calling card, right? If it's defense, be good defensively. To my way of thinking, it's more impressive that a guy who comes in on the merits of his defense looks at what he has and goes, okay, this is how we're going to be able to win games.
But you played a part in picking what you have.
Yeah, when you're responsible for going to get the groceries, you have to at least be able to.
That's right.
And he's cooking up a 10-6 record last year, for example.
But that was last year when they got hot toward the end. There's no reason we see them getting hot toward the end. Now, I say they will be a sleeper and get in a wild card.
Just they came with a hair.
You can't go off and just almost beat Dallas. You didn't win.
Background to be ranked 27th or worse against the pass. You can't do it, Matt.
The Broncos went from all offense, no defense to all defense, no offense, went to 2 Super Bowls within 3 years.
That's another team. This isn't the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's not the Pittsburgh Steelers.
They're known for their offense.
And, oh, by the way, Max, Mike Tomlin has a Super Bowl championship and a Super Bowl berth. But just last week, we were talking about Mike McCarthy and how the Green Bay goes to the playoffs every year, but only one title because Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. He's got Big Ben.
We got to go to break. Don't miss your chance to enter the First Take Your Take viewer contest. You can win a chance to debate Stephen A. and Max right here on national television. All you have to do is go to firsttakeyourtake.com, upload a 1-minute video with your best original sports debate. Keep it clean. 2 winners will be selected by our show staff, so get to work, people. I want to see you here in Bristol. Here's a few of our latest submissions.
Dwayne Wade did make a mistake leaving the Miami Heat for the Chicago Bulls. Have you seen the Chicago Bulls? There's a team that just got rid of Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah. They're in complete, absolute rebuilding mode, and you're going to take the iconic Dwayne Wade and parade him around unceremoniously in his last few years of greatness?
Stephen A., I heard you say you would pick the Heat over the Cavs if Dwayne Wade had stayed, if Chris Bosh was healthy, and if Kevin Durant had chosen the Heat over Golden State. Come on now, you know Big House Games couldn't even make that work. The enthusiasm and the greatness is in Cleveland. I'm going with LeBron James. He's my pick, Stephen A.
Are the Lakers better without Kobe? Yes, much better. And they lost a lot of games letting Kobe shoot 30, 35 shots. Let's not pretend like he was good last year. Let's not pretend like he was useful.
I liked all those.
They were all good,
were
but
all
Brianna
good.
throwing in my former legendary coach touched me. Brianna got me there. She brought up my coach.
She did. And
Kobe
she was in a stadium.
Kobe was very useful last year because they kept their top 3 protected pick. So that was very useful of Kobe.
Okay.
Brianna stole it, though.
And now you want to talk about Kobe's usual. You want to be nice at this moment, huh? You've been disrespecting him for the last year.
Just mentioned that he made them so bad they kept their pick.
Can we talk about Monday Night Football? We cool? We good? All right. The Giants taking a 3-game winning streak into Monday Night Football tonight against a struggling Bengals team. With a win, New York will remain 2 games behind the Cowboys. A loss would drop them to 3rd place in the NFC East and 3 games back in the division. Stephen A., must win for those G-men?
I kind of think it is. Simply because of everyone in the NFC East winning yesterday. Redskins winning, which I predicted. Eagles winning. And the Cowboys winning, of course, which still makes me sick. But the thing about it is that if you're the Giants, no one in the NFC East has gone anywhere. And it just seems to be the kind of year, which is typical of the NFC East. When you lose at this time of year, it tends to be indicative of what's going to happen to you the rest of the way. Record-wise, no. But I think performance-wise, psychologically, I look at the Giants needing to understand you got to win a game like this because the last thing the Eagles and the Redskins need on the come up is more momentum. You don't want to provide that to them.
They could easily lose this game, and it's not a must-win game. The Bengals are a pretty good NFL team. They're not having a great year, but they're the kind of team that can beat any other team any given Sunday, or in this case Monday. The Giants don't need to win this game because if you look at the way it's shaken out, we thought that the NFC East was so weak that you'd have to win the division to get to the playoffs. As it turns out, it's so strong. Look at their out of division records in the NFC East. They're whooping up on the rest of the NFC. That it's likely that at least one wild card comes from the NFC East. Here's how it is a must-win game. The Giants can still win this division. They need to pick up 1 game on the Cowboys
and then beat them.
And then if they beat the Cowboys, they got both games against the Cowboys and a better record. All they got to do, or the same record, all they got to do is pick up 1 game on the Cowboys before Week 13, and they can still win the division. So win the division must win, yes. Make the playoffs, no.
Here's my biggest problem with what you said. You said the Bengals are a good team.
Yeah.
They're not a good team.
They're okay.
Let me finish. They're not a good team. They're a team with good players. There's a difference. They're dysfunctional. They're a roller coaster ride. They're Six Flags, baby. That's what you should call them, Six Flags. The Six Flags Bengals. That's who they are because they're that dysfunctional. You can't rely on them. You can't trust them at all. I can trust A.J. Green. I can trust Hill ball.
They're going to play tough tonight,
Hill ball.
What I mean is they're a typical
Jeremy Hill will ball. Andy Dalton's balling.
They're a typical 8-8-ish NFL team, and so are the Giants, except that they have a 2-time MVP.
That is the second
Super Bowl MVP quarterback and Odell Beckham.
That is the second time in this show and about the 20th time since you've been here that you've alluded to mediocrity being good. I'm tired of that. 500 is not good, Max Kellerman. It is not good.
It ain't bad either.
It's mediocre.
Right. That's right.
It's mediocre.
Most of the league.
Average.
Most of the league.
We don't like average.
That is not average.
500
is average. What is wrong with y'all?
Average, 500. I'm not saying average is good. Relax. I don't like average either.
Stephen A. Most of the league is like the Bengals. A few teams are like the Patriots
around with
and
a
Seahawks.
Tom Ford suit looking all sharp, but then you're going to bring up average and mediocre as being average? You don't know how to dissect the difference between the two? What has happened to you?
Seahawks were going to beat
What has happened to you?
What do you mean who doesn't know
I
how
don't
to
know
dissect?
about that. I don't understand.
I told you Russell Wilson went out playing.
I don't understand you, man. I mean, come on.
Giants going to win this.
Goodbye, everyone.